And we are live, guys. Welcome to another live stream from the Men of High Value channel. My name is Joseph Darling. Today, let me see if I can go real quick into the video we're going to talk about today, which is part 2. Patrick Bet-David on the Roommates show talks how to become high value, men in marriage, masculine purpose, and more. We did half of it last time. If you haven't seen part 1, go and check out part 1. It's the video that I did last time. And we're gonna do part 2 today, and I'm absolutely fired up outside my brain about this because this is exactly what we're teaching on our channel. So let's get started. Let me just make sure that it's working, looking good. And let's enjoy. I'm making a video right now, so I'll call you back. Alright, let's start.
But that 25-year-old is bored out of their mind.
Right. I gotta edit this, seriously. What just happened? An error occurred. See.
And they live in a $10 million home, and we'll get out and we'll collect them. What are you guys doing? Because we wanted to buy cards. I wanted to segregate.
Yo, what's good, everybody? And this week's episode is brought to you guys by Skill.
Why does he not have drive in his life? So let me give it to you maybe from a different perspective.
Okay.
My dad kept telling me I'm lazy as a kid. Hey, somebody bitter. You're not part of a community, and you're not creating anything new. The moment you no longer create something of value to the world, you become bitter. Who's typically bitter? Old people. Why are they bitter? Because they're no longer contributing. You got to figure out a way to get them to contribute, to feel like I am still needed in society. The world still needs me. Wooden died at 99. John D. Rockefeller, who was born in 1835, said, I'm going to live 100 years, and I'm going to make $100,000. He didn't make $100,000. In today's money, he made $340 billion. Do you know in 1835, the average life expectancy for a man was 39 and a half years old? You know how long he lived? 97 years and 11 months because he kept contributing. Okay. So when you look at this stuff and you're like, okay, well, here's what we got going on. How about this 27-year-old kid making 25 grand a year, part-time job, and has no drive? He's bored out of his mind. You either need an enemy, you need a vision, you need somebody to tell you can't do something. You need to put yourself in a position where somebody slaps you around that pisses you off, and you wake up and you're like, wait a minute, what did you say?
Yeah.
I'm going to go out there and go to war and show you that I'm going to do something big with my life. But that 25-year-old is bored out of their minds. And quite frankly, many times there's nothing you can do about it.
And this is exactly what we're talking about on this video. Can you close the door, please? This is an exciting episode. So, we are going to catch up from here because this is actually where we left off in the last video. These guys that they're talking about right now, they're bored outside their brains and they don't have any motivation. Let's see if Patrick has some solution to these young men, and if they don't, send them to me. Okay, because I've got the solution for how to get a drive, how to get motivation, how to get out of depression, how to get happy outside your brain, be fired up outside your brain, how to really create the life that you desire. Okay, so let's listen to what Patrick has to say.
It has to come internal. Look, life is a test. You're being tested right now. I don't know how you're being tested right now, but somehow you're being tested. It could be personal, it could be family, it could be finance, it could be ego, it could be desires, it could be a vice. No one knows, but you're being tested. I'm being tested. She's being tested. He's being tested. There's not a person right now that's not being tested, right? Some of us don't pass the test. Who controls that? You do. Yeah. That's not on you and I. So that 25-year-old, that 27-year-old is being tested today. And he's failing today because he has no desire to go out there and do something. He has to figure out a way to self-motivate himself right now. There's nothing you and I can do. At the end of the day, the individual has to want to help themselves. We can't make miracles. I can bring Tony Robbins, Joel Osteen, bring the biggest motivational speakers in the world. Put them in a room of 1,000 people, and you're still going to have 80% of people that are going to do nothing when they leave that room.
Absolutely. I completely agree. So am I saying that I can change everyone and get them to get started and make things happen in their lives? Absolutely not, okay? However, for those that do want it, for those that do desire it, there is a perfect blueprint to actually find that motivation and to get that drive back, okay? So it's just basically a decision away, some things that need to happen in your life in order for you to start that journey at least, okay? So I'm not saying that I can take someone who's not motivated and then fire them up outside their brain. It has to come from them being crushed by life. This is also one of the reasons why we should never, ever encourage a welfare state. Because survival is such an important aspect of life. Like if you don't have anything to eat, if you don't have anywhere to stay, the government should never ever help you out. And that's how we evolve as a species. That's how humankind, moves forward. They have to be crushed in the face by nature, and that will motivate them. And if we don't allow that to happen to men in general, society is going to suffer. Men being lazy and not motivated destroys women and children. And especially women, because these lazy guys are just enough motivated to get laid, but they're not motivated to do anything else. Okay? And then there's tons of guys who are also motivated to just watch porn, and then they're not motivated to do anything else, and they're depressed outside their brains. Do you understand what I mean? Like, so if the welfare state was not here, that would help a lot, okay? That would like solve so many problems as well, by the way. I'm a libertarian, if you did not know. So is Patrick Bet-David. This is how we think, okay? They've got to be crushed, because then they'll find their motivation. Because you're forced to do so by nature, not by anyone else. Because if anyone else tries to force you, you'll resist it like nobody's business. But if nature forces you, that's the universe forcing you, and then you just have to basically look at yourself in the mirror, you hate your life, now you're going to take action. And if you're ready to take that action, we're ready, we're willing, we're able, okay? We got the blueprint ready for you.
Numbers are numbers. That person's got to want it themselves. There's nothing you can do about it.
Man, so the first time I met you, I remember you came...
Like, so do you understand what I'm saying? Patrick Bet-David was basically, he's asking, what do you do with the guy? He doesn't have drive, he doesn't have this, that, and the other. Patrick basically says nothing. I'm not going to do anything for that guy. I'm basically saying, I would recommend that he watches my videos. Just watch my videos. And then it's up to him to basically say no or doing it. Like, does that make sense? That's the only thing I can do for him. If you want to watch my videos, it will change your life dramatically, especially as you begin to apply the principles that are taught on the channel. The thing is, you can't watch this channel for long term without actually taking action in your life. Why? Because you're going to get cognitive dissonance over time. What's cognitive dissonance? It's basically you believing something, because the more you understand what's on my channel, the more you'll know for a fact that what he's saying is correct. What this guy is saying on the Men of High Value channel, I can observe it. It's observable. It's like it actually functions and it works, okay? For anybody that wants to work it. So you're going to believe in the principles that I teach eventually if you keep watching it, right? Because you're influenced by the people that you're surrounding yourself by, and I have extreme amounts of confidence in the things that I believe in. So you're going to be like, my certainty is greater than your doubt about these principles. So you're going to listen to this and you're going to be like, dang, he does have a point, and I don't have a roadmap, I don't have a blueprint, I don't know what I want to do, and what he says, it just sounds so simple, but like I don't know if I can do it, blah 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 blah. Okay, so you're gonna get cognitive dissonance, you're gonna believe in what I speak about, but then you're not taking action at all. But I'd rather you get that cognitive dissonance and then eventually take action. That's better than you not listening to any of this stuff, right? So that's what I want to do for you. Just put you in front of the screen, and Patrick would do the exact same thing. And that's what he does. He's like, here's valuetainment, take it or leave it. I'm not going to do anything else for you other than that. And I agree.
In the room, and there was an energy shift in the room when you walked into the room. And only way I could describe it is like this dragon energy. It was like this powerful being. And the more I began to read and to learn, it's a sense of this masculine energy that you exude. And one of the things that I was reading about is this masculine energy is this initiative, it's this drive, it's this passion. And you can just feel it when somebody walks in the room, to which I believe you said, like, in part of your family crest is a lion. Did you communicate that? And that's what it embodies, right? This fierce, ferocious competitor go-getter. And you're 100% right. For a lot of these young men, they don't have that in them. They don't have it in them. And so I know you said it's something that we can do about it, but have you seen anybody?
There is something we can do about it. Actually, there's another step we can do about it, and Patrick doesn't understand this because he doesn't understand female nature. How do you create drive in men? when they have so much access to porn, so much access to women, because women are so burdened these days that you get to sleep with them so easily, it's ridiculous. Okay, like I drove as an Uber driver, like, 2-3 years ago, and I was driving guys to girls' houses that were ugly. Okay, like in the middle of the night, they'd met on Tinder, right? And he's basically just going to her house because they're gonna, sleep together. And I'm like driving this ugly guy who's like fat and who's like, and he's going over to this girl's house to sleep with her. And I'm like, what is wrong with the world? Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm thinking. But at the same time, I'm like, there's too easy access. Okay? So Patrick David doesn't understand this. This is what you're going to get from this channel. Monogamy is a huge problem. Because monogamy creates massive amounts of excess females that are single. When you understand what I teach on the other channel, the Women of High Value channel, or 3 Girls in Love, it's in the description here, I haven't changed the description name, you'll learn about 3 in Love. What is 3 in Love? It's one man, one trustworthy, financially secure, powerful man, masculine man, who secures himself 3 women. He doesn't marry them because that's illegal in most of the Western world. Who cares? In today's world, you can cohabit, okay? But don't do it if you don't have the stamp of approval of the Men of High Value community. If you're not gonna be part of the Men of High Value community and understand female nature, you're gonna make more damage or create more damage than you're actually doing good, if you're trying to do what I'm trying to tell you here. Then I'd rather you just stay away from women completely and be voluntary celibate, or get married. I struggle to say that, but if you don't do that, then you're probably gonna sleep around, and that's the last thing I want you to do. Okay, so you either celibacy or do monogamy, but I wish that the whole world could understand these principles, because it would solve so many problems so quickly. 3 in Love basically takes women off the market. 3 in Love takes women off the market, meaning the value of women drastically goes up, not down. We want to unburden women and children. We want to increase the value of women so that they don't have to sleep around, so that they don't want to sleep around, because they've got a high value man that provides for them, that protects for them, etc., etc., etc. What happens to society at large if that becomes the situation? There is no women to sleep around with anymore. Suddenly they have to compete with men of high value who's gained the trust of the fathers of these women. Now there's no players anymore. How can there be players? There's no women to sleep around with. 30% of the men have taken 90% of the women. Beautiful society. Amazing society. Okay? And those men are powerful, which means that those others, 60% of the men or 70% of the men, they can't fight against those guys because the men of high value are amazing. Does that make sense? Like, there's going to be order when this happens. And the value of women have gone up, and it will create a drive like nobody's business, because there's no more porn either. Will there always be porn? Yeah, probably for the next 500 years. But eventually, everyone will come to an understanding of that which works in the long run, in the big scheme of things. It's impossible for them not to come to that conclusion, because it's the only way that works. I posted something on my Instagram yesterday. It was about, oh man, I so want to show you guys. Hold on, let me see if I can show you guys here. Instagram. Let's see if I have the capacity to do that one here. Men of high value. Oh my gosh, this is like silly to do online, isn't it? Well, I'll have to edit it out as well. But let's see. Let's see if it works. Didn't work. I don't have it. Anyway, it was basically about the concept of problems that the solutions that politicians come with very often don't work, and they're trying to find solutions to problems that they themselves created. And then I basically published, if you haven't checked out my Men of High Value Instagram, then go check it out, since I can't log in. And then I wrote above it, and I posted on my story, and I said that basically, this is what happened to monogamy in the 300s. Politicians created a problem. That problem was monogamy. It was non-existent before that time. And if it did exist, it was in a society that was very limited and very scarce and very rare, because it doesn't work. Okay? The way that it has worked from the very beginning is a patriarchal society. Now, this was very bad for women, okay? But over time, we evolve as a species, right? Men are becoming more masculine. And when they become more masculine, they actually become more caring of their women and children. That's actually what happens. And more caring in the sense that they understand what leadership is, okay? Back then, they forced women, and they basically punished women if something was wrong and all that stuff. That's not the case in 3 in Love, not at all, if you understand leadership, which I teach you. So anyway, let's keep going. I'm just basically saying that there is a solution to get the motivation up of 60% of the male population, or 100% of the male population, to be honest with you, and that is take away women off the market. So if you actually practice 3 in Love, as taught by this channel, okay? You guys are part of the very small movement right now, but in the future it's going to be huge, because this is how things work. And what you're doing is you're actually helping solve that problem, if that makes sense.
You go from very passive and lazy and then waking that inner lion?
Myself.
Okay.
Myself. See, the reason why I believe people change is because I've witnessed my life. If you were to, one of the things I did a few years ago, I brought up my former sergeant from the Army, okay? And I put him on stage. I said, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who I was in the Army? And he started telling stories. I ended up bringing my sister into the business with me. She's one of our vice presidents now, Paulette and Siamak. They do a great job. They're one of the vice presidents in the company. And I told everybody, go ask my sister anything you want to ask about how I was. And I said, Paulette, say whatever you want to say. I'm good. And she would say, Pat was lazy. Pat was this. Yeah, no, totally fine. I'm okay. Then I brought another friend who from the military, and people would ask him the questions. Hey, how was Pat? How was this? How was that? I don't have any problems with that. Then I went and called, one of my friends called me one time. I'll never forget. His name is Adrian. And he said, hey, can we go out to lunch? And we went out to lunch. This was even 12 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe even before, like I was online anything. And he says, Pat, can I tell you something? I said, yeah. At the time, I'm probably making $250,000 to $500,000 when him and I were having this conversation in my late 20s. He says, I'm going to tell you something that most of your friends are not going to tell you. So what's that, Adrian? He says, Pat, I never thought you were going to make it. I'm not one of these guys that's going to tell you, I know Pat was going to make it. He says, Pat, I never thought you were going to make it.
Yeah.
I never thought you could know anything with your life. When you went into the Army, I thought that was it. Like, you're going to go make 38 grand, 40 grand, and that's it.
Wow.
He says, I am shocked at who you became. Okay, perfect. So now flip it. You asked me the question with this 25-year-old. I'm telling you, I didn't have any fire. I didn't have any fire. One day.
Why didn't he have any fire? He slept a lot around with women. That's it. Massively ejaculating for years. Okay? That's why. And he ejaculated and had sex with them and drank, partied, probably drugs as well were involved. I think he has some videos where he's explained about that. But, and then he changed because he wanted more. And he wanted to solve problems. And now he's become, like he wants to solve world problems. And now he's really gone into his masculine, perspectives, which is awesome.
I'm at UCLA Medical Center in LA. My dad has a heart attack. You've heard me tell this story before. My dad has a heart attack. And my dad is like my dad's. At this time, I'm partying 5-6 days a week. I'm in Vegas every other weekend. So I go to the hospital and I see him. And I see him laying in bed, and the nurse, he's calling the nurse, not showing up. The nurse gave him a little bit of an attitude, and that's when I lost it. I'm calling out the nurse, just acting fully irresponsible at the hospital. My dad is panicking. Patrick, please calm down, please calm down. And he just had a heart attack. Just foolish, absolutely. There's nothing about my behavior that was acceptable, except the fact that I wanted my dad to get better service, right? So eventually they kicked me out. I get kicked out of the hospital. I can't go visit my dad. They kick me out of the hospital, and, I get in my car, Ford Focus. And I sit there and I cry for 30 straight minutes, okay? The next day, I told my friends, never ever call me again to go to clubs. Pat, come on, man, what are you talking about? I said, don't ever call me again. I'm not going. You're not going to see me at the clubs anymore. I'm not going to party with you. I'm not going to go to clubs with you. Pat, you're out of your mind. There's no way in the world. You can't stop. We all know who you are because I was great at party inside. You will never stop. I said, okay, I'm just telling you, don't call me anymore. So they started calling me. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
He made a decision. Interesting how that works. Now, sometimes you need like a traumatic experience like he had at the, you know, the hospital with his father and all that stuff. But you also don't need that. You know, if you just know, do you want more? If the answer is yes to that question, then the only question is, can you do it? And it's scientifically proven that anyone can succeed, you know? If you really look at, you know, how the history of people who've become successful, so to speak, I just want you to become successful in terms of abundance, massive abundance, and you can decide what abundance is to you. But if you apply the principles, it is done. You will have it. No question about it. But it comes first when you make a decision that you're willing to learn and willing to work. Those are the only two things you got to think about. Am I willing to work? Am I willing to learn? Work, 80-hour work week. Okay? Learn, go back to phase 1. And phase 1 of leadership is allow yourself to be led. That's number 1. If you allow yourself to be led, you'll actually do the 80 hours. And because, you know, very often people don't want to have a job because they don't want to be led. Okay, so if you get a job and get coaching, that helps as well.
6 months, guess what happened? Never went to the clubs ever again. That night, decision was made. The old Pat died. I killed the old Pat. Give you another part of this story here. One day, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why do I drink? I don't know why I'm drinking. Done with alcohol. I dropped alcohol, and I stopped drinking. Now, this is coming from a guy that every weekend in the Army, I would drink 2 bottles of tequila when I would go to the clubs. We would drive from Kentucky all the way up to Nashville, Tennessee, Mix Factory, Connections, Silverados, all this stuff. And by the time we got there, we're hammered. If you see most of my military pictures in Nashville, if there's any military picture you see out of my album in Nashville, I am hammered. And you'll see it on the look of my face. To all of a sudden saying, dude, I'm done. Okay? And to me saying, no sex for 17 months until I make my money. I made some drastic decisions. Who can't do that? They can do that. You control the choice. See, the reason why capitalism is a beautiful thing is because of 4 things. You have the freedom to buy whatever you want to buy, that's legal. You have the freedom to sell whatever you want to sell, that's legal. You have the freedom to try whatever you want. You don't want to do real estate? Try insurance. You don't want to do insurance? Try digital marketing. You don't want to go try YouTube. You can try anything you want. But you know what the last one is? The freedom to fail. We don't give enough credit to this. The reason why certain people in the world are respected and admired at the level that they are is because so many people fail. Because when the pressure hits, most people leave the arena. We all root for the people in the arena and we criticize them. What we don't recognize is the fact that whoever's in the arena getting their asses handed to them, at least they have the courage to get in the arena. They're not fans on the outside. They're in the arena fighting. Those are the people we admire. So these young guys that you're talking about, Pat, you know, a lot of people don't have the drive.
I love capitalism. I love it so much. And yes, this is a political channel. If you don't capitalism, by the time I'm done with you, you will love capitalism. Seriously. Why? Because I love evolution. Why? Because I love progress. Why? Because that's how we become better. That's how we improve society. That's how we become happy. That's how we create happy families. That's how you'll have an enjoyable life. That's how you get joy, bliss, and happiness. Okay? Like, capitalism is the only way to create long-term joy, bliss, and happiness for everyone, okay, who wants it. Okay? So if you're a socialist, that's okay. You know, I embrace you. You're my friend. No problem. But it's not correct. Okay? It's not the right thinking. It's feminine thinking. And it's the thinking that actually will screw up your life. Okay? Will actually bond you with masculine women. Burdened women. Because that they take upon themselves the problems of the world. And so they're socialists. Okay? Feminine women very often are with capitalist guys, because masculine men are capitalists. You just begin to observe around you. You'll notice, okay? Feminine guys are socialists. So you have to make a decision about that as well. I don't know why we're talking about politics, but hey, he's bringing up politics. I love Patrick for it, okay? Because his channel is also quite political as well. And it's a part that I love about it as well. But anyway.
I wish you knew me in my early 20s. You would have more confidence in people being able to shift, because I had to choose. One thing happened, Next thing, I'm a whole different person.
I love that, man. That message. I hope the guys took that to heart. And
to be honest with you, it wasn't just one thing that caused him to stop, okay? It's very important for you guys to know that, because it's like, oh, I wonder what my thing is going to be that causes me to completely change my life, and I'm just looking for that big break that's never going to arrive. It's never going to arrive the way that you think it's going to arrive, because that's not what happened to Patrick, really. Okay, if you think about what happened to Patrick, he was so into that lifestyle of partying and drinking and girls and you know, and all that stuff that was going on in the party scene, that he, like, it's kind of like eating all in one setting, and then you get sick, okay? It's like candy. It's like my kids, you know, like, actually, they never get sick, okay? But, you know, we've started with real healthy eating lately, and so, but they still get candy once a week, and this time they had a lot of candy on that one day a week, and they got sick, okay? And it went over like in one day, but the whole point is, like, if you put too much of something in you, then you get sick of it and you get disgusted. But this happened over time for Patrick. Okay, it wasn't like suddenly a shift that I don't want to party anymore. He was partying, and his neurotransmitters and his dopamine receptors weren't working properly anymore. In order for him to get more of that, you know, the spike, so to speak, he would have to go deeper and deeper into his addictions in order for him to feel anything. So now he basically was so difficult, you know, with everyone around him, and he's just like, my dad is almost dying, I gotta fix my life. So I just wanted to explain that it wasn't just one thing, it was over time, okay? There's always an exponential growth curve, and he knew that he had more potential. And his father taught him that he had more potential. In many ways, I think it was a respect for his father that actually got him to quit. Especially now that his father was almost dying and he wasn't allowed to visit him, etc., etc. So, yeah, just wanted to put that in there because it's all psychology.
So one of the things is there's a lot of conversations about, you know, the behaviors of very successful men, and you know, and I always say there's levels to the game. You know, there's the guys that, you know, there's 100,000s, there's a million, there's a 10 million. You know, Pat's at the top of the level. You know what I mean? Pat is a guy who's an extremely successful man. A lot of people will show things on social media, but Patrick, hands down, successful man that you cannot deny. So one of the questions that people always ask is, what is the incentive of a very successful, especially financially successful man to settle down and get married? So I'm very curious about from
Yeehaw! Are we ready for this conversation or what?
Your personal perspective as a man who was being successful, who had an onward trajectory, who was doing so well. What made you decide to get married?
The risk is very high, by the way, to get married. You know, for me, when I was 28, I had made a decision I'm never going to get married. I said, I'm staying single. And my assistant, very good friend of mine.
Kids. I want kids. I want a family. Why? Because his father was a family man. His father was a family man and was a good example of what it was to be a father. Even though, you know, he messed up in terms of his kids, you know, partying and all that stuff, and he probably, as a father, he probably felt that he failed miserably for those 10 years or 15 years that Pat was out there doing all that crap, right? But now, today, he's like more proud of Pat than any other person on planet Earth, you know what I mean? Because I've seen him, Pat has shown him on his channel and stuff like that, and it's amazing, you know, the connection that they have together, and he's still alive and stuff like that. So, but you gotta understand, he got that mindset from his father of family. Family first. It's always family, and that's why Pat wants kids. This is at least my opinion. I think he's mentioned it some other place, but he's gonna mention it here as well.
At that time, Patty, said, why don't you go read this book, 101 Questions to Ask Before You Get Engaged, by Norman Wright. So I read the book. When I read the book, I'm like, interesting. I was talking to 4 girls at the time. I said, why don't you guys read this book as well and see how you feel about it? So they did. I'm like, I could never be with you. You and I would never work out. But I asked the one question, why get married? There's way too much risk to it. So then I sat there and said, well, you have somebody to come home to every night. You can still have somebody to come home to if you're single. Matter of fact, you can have options. Yeah. If you know what I mean? When you have the money, you can do whatever you want to do with that. Yeah.
That's horrible. Okay? If you understand female nature, you understand how bad it is for women and their future husbands and their children that you are sleeping with someone else's future wife. Okay? That's a problem for society at large. In fact, it is the biggest problem in society today. Because families are getting screwed over by women having high partner counts before they get married and having a bunch, to compare their husband with, if that makes sense. And then greener on the other side, all that stuff. And he's like, my husband sucks because monogamy doesn't work because it automatically shuts off her sexuality. That's how monogamy works, okay? Oh, but there's married women who still have sex with their husbands. Yeah, reluctantly is the key word, okay? And if it's not reluctantly, it's just because they need it, not because they want to, okay? And I'm not talking about my marriage here. I'm talking about 95% of the married population here, okay? And then people will tell you, no, our marriage is great and I'm enjoying it. Ask them, okay? But be deep, okay, in your questioning, when they say, no, I'm very happy in my marriage. And yeah, it's really nice to get married. No, I want to know all the bad stuff. Tell me the bad stuff. I want you guys to understand this. Ask hundreds of people. Become curious. This is one of the strengths that I have. I'm just curious. This is why I'm listening 95% of the time when I'm having conversations with people. I'm telling you, it looks like I'm the one who talks all the time because that's how I am on YouTube. Trust me, 95% of the time I listen, I observe, I see what's going on, okay? That's how marriage is. But yeah, horrible, absolutely horrible to sleep with women that are not yours long term. Don't do it, okay? Watch my video again and again and again called Why Casual Sex for Women is Russian Roulette, okay? Fantastic video, one of the classics.
Yeah, but the tax benefits, I don't care about that. I can move to another state and get better tax benefits. It's somebody that it's somebody that can help you. It's somebody that can do this. Not there yet. And then it goes to, okay, look, you can make all the money in the world. Then what? Like, what leaves you? A book? Yeah, they say the Jewish proverb says there's 3 things every man should do. Write a book, plant a tree, have a son. Why? Because they all outlive you. We as men want to live thousands of years. The only way you're going to live thousands of years is by the value you bring to the world that's documented, is by giving back to, and I know the tree is what they're saying with tree, not even tree today, because a tree is being cut down and turned into paper. So business model, not right.
Yeah.
But it's family, it's blood. And when you see your kid and you find somebody to build a family with that's a good partner, meshes with you, good personality, you sit there and say, okay, great, this looks good. We can actually pull this off. Then there's value for it. But I'm going to tell you something here right now. Basic rules about getting married today. If I'm a man, I'm not getting married before 30 at all. I would not even think about getting married pre-30. A lot of people argue with me. You don't know what you're talking about. I got married at 22 years old and I'm happily married. I'm 62.
I got married at 23. Do I regret it? Do I wish that I had waited until I was 30? I wouldn't have put a number on it. I would have put financial stability first. If you're financially stable, and number 2, understand female nature, okay? Understand it like 100%, and then receive a stamp of approval by a community that you're ready, who also understand female nature, okay? Then you don't get married, but you take on 3 women who will gladly share you because they're harmonized together because of your leadership is amazing, okay? That can happen when you're 18 years old. I'm going to encourage my boys to do it when they're 18 years old if they have actually done the preliminary preparation. They've done their financial stability on a grand scale because I've taught them. The second aspect, they will understand female nature massively. Why won't they ask me when this is what I've been doing for years? Okay, it's probably like, their stubbornness. I don't want to listen to my dad, but that's on me. Okay, if I try to cram them with information and stuff, they won't listen to me. But if I just allow them to come to me when they have questions, completely different story. Kind of like the bird, when you want to feed the birds, you don't just throw pieces of bread on them, right? You take the crumbs of bread and you put them in your hand and you put a little bit on the ground and then eventually they come towards you, blah blah blah. That's how you raise kids. That's how you raise teenagers. They will have questions and they'll come to you and they'll ask. And if you know what you're talking about, you're fired up outside your brain every single day and you're rich, why would they not come to you? Does that make sense? So, what am I saying here? I'm saying that if you're 18 and you got the money, you know female nature, and you're trustworthy like crazy, why not at 18 years old if you have the trust of the 3 fathers of these 3 girls that you want? Why not? Right? So I wouldn't wait until I'm 30, because as we teach on this channel, it's not really this one, it's on the Women of High Value channel, it is impossible for women to leave you, to cheat on you, if you apply the correct principles as taught. Impossible. And that's the risk that people think that is in marriage. And the only risk that is there is because they're not educated. They're ignorant on female nature. If they had been educated on female nature, you can like basically 99%, you know, manage to retain women if you understand them. The only reason why you get a divorce is because you don't understand them. Does that make sense? So the paper of marriage is ridiculously irrelevant to a couple or a family, okay, of a man with 3 women staying together for the long haul, if you know what you are doing. It's kind of like starting with trading. You know, you might become a bit successful and make some money, right? You know, I've had this experience, and then you lose it all. And then you're just like, yeah, that was a lucky break when I made money, wasn't it? Yeah, I actually had no idea what I was doing because I lost it. It's the exact same way with girls. Why are women dumping you or leaving you? You know, or have done that in the past. Don't try and figure it out. Don't try again and try again and try again, right? No, understand female nature from an outside perspective. You know, use your brain to think about, you know, what happened in those past relationships while you're learning from the Women of High Value channel and on the Men of High Value channel to understand what happened. And if you dig deep enough with the why, you'll know, especially with the stuff that I teach. Then you can know for a fact that 100% certain I'm going to be successful. 100% certain I'm going to have abundance in my life. 100% certain I'm going to retain the women in my life, so they're never going to cheat on me. They're never going to steal from me. They're always going to be able, you know, I can trust them, and they're never going to leave me. Then now you're actually setting up something of worthwhile. A family that sticks together and that are happy together, and you get kids that are happy because they've got 3 mothers, not just one, who has no capacity at all and is beyond her capacity. Okay? I know this, been married 11 years, have full overview over how this works. Because that's my, you know, top echelon expertise of what I've been trying to figure out. Okay, that's why I'm kind of delayed on the financial business aspect, because that wasn't my priority. I wanted to figure out female nature, female psychology first to make sure that that thing is not my failure. I refused to fail in that one, and I never gave up, and this is what I got today for you guys, okay? This is what you pay for when you come and check out my channel. You're investing your time to learn female nature and female psychology. That's what I want to teach you guys. But first, okay, you can watch Women of High Value channel to get your motivation up, because then you're like, damn, like I can literally have this lifestyle that he's talking about. And it's actually not that difficult. You know, there are some difficult aspects, but that's, you know, something that can be handled if you are a leader and if you've got the financials to set it up. I'm fired up about it.
22, 62, that was 40 years ago. That means the 80s.
Yeah.
You didn't have social media, you didn't have Snapchat, you didn't have Tinder, you don't have accessibility to what's out there today. Accessibility to sex today is so easy. The ability to be tempted today and screw up is so easy. The ability to screw up and make a royally, publicly humiliating mistake today is very high. And ain't no man walk on water. Okay? And no man walks on water. Everybody sees and says, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I'm married. There's nobody that's perfect to say, oh, I don't have to worry about the mistakes I'm going to make. The risk is high today. The reward is not a humiliating mistake today is very high. And ain't no man walk on water. Okay? And no man walks on water. Everybody sees and says, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I'm married. There's nobody that's perfect to say, oh, I don't have to worry about the mistakes I'm going to make. The risk.
Oh, I'm not going to worry about mistakes I'm going to make. Are you serious? Like, that's ridiculous. That's literally not practicing SR. Like, If you practice SR, you can control your sexual urges. You will not sleep with anyone if you don't want to sleep with anyone. So if you are in a relationship with someone, okay, you won't sleep around if that's what the decision you made. Just like he's made a decision, I'm going to make $100 million before I'm 40 years old. That decision is in many ways easier to make than I'm not going to sleep with anyone else than the woman that I'm committed to for life. What the hell? What is this, Pat? Okay? This is ridiculous. You should know for a fact that I'm never, ever going to sleep around with anyone other than my wife. Now, or other than the woman that I'm committed to for life, right? Because I'm obviously going to sleep, with 2 other women that are not my wife right now, right? Because of 3 in love. But do you understand how that works? Okay? You only sleep with women that you're committed to for life. Why should you make a mistake like that? That kind of failure is unacceptable. Unacceptable in my book. Like, if any man of high value, okay, whoever is part of the men of high value community ever makes that mistake, like he's done as a man of high value, I would actually encourage the women to leave him, okay? Because that's not acceptable. You only sleep with the women that are in your household. Those 3, none else. You don't even bring up a 4th one because it's a closed relationship. Why? Because you are a man of high value. You've got standards. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others, you can't lead women, you can't lead kids. Never, ever screw up on that one. And I'm serious about that. And no man walking on water. It doesn't take walking on water to stay faithful and loyal. That's ridiculous, Patrick. Okay? I'll be fired up to conversate with you about that one.
Let's get started today. The reward is not as high as it used to be, because at least back in the days, say you and your wife got into a fight 20 years ago. You got a 30-minute drive, okay? And at the office, you talk to her. Why don't I come home and talk to you tonight? You got 30 minutes to calm down by the time you come home. Today, if you get into a fight, instantly, that second what you want to say, you say. So you offend, scar. It's just like, dude, I'm so done with this marriage. So today, we have too much of the opportunity to react instantly. There's too much instant reaction.
Fantastic. That's great. Why is that great? Because of immediate feedback. I love immediate feedback. If there's anything I love more, I don't know. Like, I love my wife. I love, my principles. I love the truth. I love blah, 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 blah. But other than that, man, I love immediate feedback. Why? Because it tells you immediately, okay? If you like learning, don't you like immediate feedback? Okay? Immediate response. Like, I don't want to do something and then I find out the effect of that cause that happened a year from now, or 6 months from now, or 2 days from now. I don't want that, because then there's a huge disconnect with the thing that happened here and the thing that's happening, the result that happens in the future. I don't want that. I want cause, and then I want to hear if it works immediately. Like, I want to find out if it works immediately. But if I don't know what works immediately, I want to find out what doesn't work immediately, because then we can do the process of elimination, right? So it's fantastic that women are able to spew out everything that they want to spew out and vent their problems and vent their issues to you if you are their man, because that's immediate feedback that you're doing something wrong, or that you did not protect her properly, or that you did not provide properly, etc., etc., etc. Does that make sense? Fantastic. Immediate feedback. Love it.
And, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. That fight is too instant. So those are all scars that you're leaving on each other, right?
Why should you ever fight with your woman? Why? Why? How does fighting ever solve a problem with the woman? Ever. No. Like, did you see how like the most successful men in the world also have no idea about women, and they have no offense, okay? And it's not like, oh, I'm the almighty when it comes to understanding women, okay? But I've come quite far in that direction, okay? Because it is one of the most important skills to understand. Because if you don't have peace in that relationship, it's difficult to have peace in the rest of your life. It's difficult to make progress in your business. It's difficult to make anything happen worthwhile in your life. And you're going to be depressed and have issues if you can't figure out how to have a good relationship with your women. Okay? Like, that's number one for me, is peace. Okay? And in many ways, we've sacrificed passion in order to have peace. Peace comes first. Okay? Passion we're gonna have later with 3 in Love, because passion doesn't really exist in a marriage unless you fight a lot. But that's tiring and exhausting and causes, scars, like he's talking about, and issues for the kids and lack of trust between the partners, etc. etc. Why do you want to put yourself through the fighting just so that you can have some passion some of the time? That's ridiculous. I'd rather go without the passion, but know for a fact that I can trust my wife, that I can trust that I'm doing the right thing when it comes to my family, and be happy and have peace. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense.
And eventually, after all the scars you get, it's like, I just have no desire to do anything with you in bed anymore. I really don't. I'm good. You're facing this way. She's facing that way. So it has to be built on the right values and principles. It has to be somebody that you date for some time and you see all the dark side of them and yourself to see if you can do this or not.
Okay, he still has his wife, okay? She's amazing. He has an amazing family. Wonderful, wonderful family. But I guess you could take advice from him if you haven't heard about, this channel. But like, there's so many people taking horrible advice from a lot of people when it comes to relationships and women. Like, no offense, but I gotta give it to him though. He's still in his, his marriage. Grant Cardone is also still in his marriage, even though that's his second marriage. But, they're doing a great job as families, and their families are kind of public. So, it's kind of also a status thing. But I'm very happy for them, though.
Preferably a referral that's coming through somebody instead of cold. I knew my wife 5.5 years before we got married. She knew my flaws, I knew her flaws. Oh, yeah, she dated other guys, I dated other girls, and eventually we said, let's see what could happen here, and we built a family together.
Let me just check if everything's still working. Yeah, it is. Let's see. The opposite of patriarchy is called the fraternity. I would call the opposite of patriarchy is feminism or matriarchy. But anyway, very much looking forward to this. Immediate feedback is great. Passion is classified as a vice as opposed to virtue, derived from Latin word to suffer. Okay, well, that's true, but I kind of don't like hearing that it's a vice, because passion is important. And also, I love the word lust, to be honest with you. Oh, all the Bible people are like, no, lust, don't talk about lust that way. There's 2 critical components in life. It's love and lust. Those 2 need to be combined, okay? You cannot live a massively joyful, bliss, happiness, wow, amazing life without love and lust. Those 2 combined is amazing. What is really lust? If you actually look up the definition, you'll find out it says extreme amounts of sexual attraction, okay? Or like, look it up. Actually, I kind of want to look it up right now so you guys know what I'm talking about. Let's see. It's kind of interesting. Lust, define. Strong sexual desire. Have strong sexual desire for someone. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Okay? Is that a bad thing? Strong sexual desire? No, not a bad thing, as long as it is within the close relationship of you and your 3 women. Then it's a fantastic thing. Lust. Bring it on. Okay? I want lust. I have lust. Okay? But I only apply it in the correct setting and never, ever, 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 ever sleep with the woman that I'm not committed to for life. Does that make sense? Love, lust. Both. Important. Critical. Let's go.
You have to create certain criterias before you, and when you get married, watch the fights, watch the arguments, watch how people argue. I remember one time my wife, we were dating, and she is about to lose financially. She wasn't in the best of place at that time. Certain, challenges took place. She was in the mortgage real estate business. And one month, she calls, we've been together for 3 months. She says, this month, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I'm like, ooh, okay, let's see where this goes.
Yeah.
She, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I'm like, really? Yeah. What are you thinking you're going to do? I don't know. What do you think I should do? I said, well, number one, I would go return your BMW that you have. That's $850 on car payment, white convertible. I'd go return that and say, can't pay the payment anymore. What else would you do? Number 2, I'd go back and I would get a Nissan Sentra, $200 a month. That saves you $600 a month. Okay, what else would you do? I'd go back, and I know you're doing insurance and real estate, right? I'd go back and get your old job where you worked to give you a good shift where they can pay you $40,000. That at least covers your, expenses. What else would you do? Boom, boom, boom. I said what I said. And she says, okay. I said, what do you mean? Let's go return the car. I said, sure. That day, we drove to BMW. She returned her car. Then we drove up to Central. She got to Central. Then she went back to her job and she got a job. And I said, never once did she say, can you lend me $1,250? Not one time. So to me, that was like, okay, because my biggest concern was, I have money, so you're kind of trying to. Never did that. And I said, she has no clue. She just passed an incredible test for us, right? So it's very risky, and there is no 100%. Everything about marriage today is odds. And sometimes.
He has no idea. That's okay. It's kind of like saying, you might become successful, but you might not, They say that it's 95% of all businesses that start within 5 years, they're gone. Yeah, so you have a lot of odds stacked against you. Who cares? Okay? You'll be part of the 5% because it's a decision. It's a decision that you make that you're going to make your business successful. Now, if there's a lot of outside sources that causes that business to suck or go under, and it's, it's always your fault, but let's say that you just suck in the beginning, that's okay. You start a new business, and then you start another business, and you start another business, and you start a freaking another business, and another business again. It is impossible for you to fail in business, okay? In marriage, obviously, it's a little bit different. Having a woman, if you don't know what you're doing, it's an uneducated risk. Would you ever tell anyone to start trading if they have no idea what they're doing, okay? And just throw your money at the market. Maybe you get lucky. No, that's ridiculous. They need to understand certain basics about trading and, and learn it from somewhere. Buy some courses, etc. in order for them to uneducate themselves a little bit. Does that make sense? You can't just... Education is the key. But the problem is that there is no education on female nature. And the only education that's out there, other than this channel, okay, that works, is players. Okay, and player channels that talk about how to date women and how to seduce them and how to get them to be, go in bed with you. No one teaches the correct principles of how to actually make it work with women. And those people that do teach it, they have relationships that suck. They have questions that they themselves can't answer. They have relationships that are difficult in their own life. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, there's a lot of ignorance on the subject. So that's no fault of anyone, okay? That's just how it is. I eventually maybe millions of people will listen to my voice, right? And share the information that, and I'll share with them. But until now, who else got the answers for this? Who? Does your dad? Does your pastor? Oh my gosh. My religious leaders growing up, I'd be like, they've got no clue. Okay? Jesus had no clue. Okay? I'm not, no offense to your, us Christians out there, but I'm serious. Okay? These guys, no one in the past has had any understanding of female nature. And why? Because women keep secrets. Why? Because of status. Because they get penalized when they open up. When they tell the truth about what they're thinking, people freak out. They're like, oh my gosh, and they take whatever women say seriously. Why would you take what a woman says seriously when her opinion about something is going to change in 3 seconds? Do you understand what I mean? No offense to women, but sometimes you got to take them seriously, but the majority of the time, the thing that they're saying, they don't mean it. And if they do mean it, they might not mean it 1 hour from now. Does that make sense? It's what their emotions are saying right now, right here, until they calm down, like he explained earlier. Very interesting video, eh?
Sometimes you can have a fight that no matter what, Kansas City Chiefs are supposed to win the Super Bowl, and Brady could still win. So you can still do all of it right. And the odds are in your favor for this marriage to work. It could still fail.
Yeah. No.
You have no idea what you're talking about, Pat. And it's actually a straight up lie. But I guess it's not a lie because you're not trying to deceive anyone. But, yeah.
That is a conversation that we're always having, and I think to me, similar to you, I think the advantage of a man's ability to raise his son is so important in today, especially as the world gets more and more crazier. I just think that's one of the incentives for me is that, like, similar to how my father was able to be in my life, and I know you shared a story last time on the podcast how having that 1 week with your dad, 1 day a week with your dad, really shaped your life. And I always said that I grew up very rich, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, you're spoiled. How much cars?" You're like, "No. My parents they were immigrants. We had no money." But my dad gave me so much love and time,
Powerful,
and that was the richness that I grew up with. So
Yeah.
for me, the beauty and value is in that for marriage. And
Absolutely, and I completely agree. Fatherhood, amazing. Having kids, wow. All that stuff. You just got to be prepared. You just got to have the foundation set up right from the get-go. And if that's not a motivating factor in your life, like, I want a family, I want kids, that should be what drives you to do the 80-hour work week, guys. Seriously. Because once you're in it, man, the funds run rampant, okay? Like, the money's it just disappears. Because there's so many things that are needed, so many things that need to be bought, so many things that, you want to do for your kids and all that stuff. And you don't want to be put in a situation where you don't have the money. Like, why would you not have the money to give them the, the exciting things in their childhood that they desire? Once the boys turn 12, now, like, you guys can figure it out on your own. You know what I mean? Like, I'll teach them. I'm not giving you crap. You know what I mean? Like, you can do it. You know what I mean? Like, I'll teach you, but I'm not giving you money. I'll barely give you fantastic experiences. You got to provide for yourself, bro. But I'll teach you.
So you made a point about criteria for selecting a wife. So if your son was 32 years old, he established himself financially, you see he's doing well, and he's trying to settle down, what would be 3 criteria that you give him for a wife that comes off the top of your mind?
Yeah, so first of all, you have to be physically attracted. So that's not even one of the 3.
Lust. That's number 1. Or like Ivan on Tech says, for those of you guys who follow Ivan on Tech, fundamentals and pumpamentals. Pumpamentals is her being attractive, okay? And then you got fundamentals, and that is basically her being loyal, feminine, wanting to, be a stay-at-home mother and wife, stay-at-home mother and partner, right? And all the other stuff. But pumpamentals, that's half the deal, bro. Like, literally, you gotta be attracted. And that's the first thing he mentions. And I agree. That's how it works.
You do have to be physically attracted. So the whole idea about, well, it doesn't matter. Oh, no, it matters. Okay, it matters. And by the way, my wife and I, till today, we talk and we say, hey, we have to stay in shape for each other. We have to be attractive to each other. We have to want to have sex with each other because that is a very important part of marriage. So it's not like 280 pounds, but you said through thick and thin. Yeah, it's a little too much thick right now, and I'd like some thin, right? But, so that is a part. And sometimes men let themselves go and you see, they got a big pouch. Well, but you're my wife. That's not how things work. You have to. So. But let's set that part aside. For me, number 1 would be values and principles. And I'll explain to you from my parents' standpoint. Both my parents are Christians, right? But why did they get a divorce? Here's why. My mom was a communist. My dad was an imperialist. My mother believed rich people were bad people. My dad thought poor people were lazy.
Capitalism, socialism. Could it be any clearer? Communism, socialism, okay? Take from others to give to the poor. Take from those that have to give to the have-nots, right? No one left behind. It's a feminine thinking. Like, let's get that clear and clear cut and dry, okay? Women are socialists by nature because they're supposed to be. That's a good thing. Why? Because that's what you need in the home in order for things to work. Do you want your kids to compete with each other from 4, 3, 5 years old? No. You want them to collaborate, to be part of a team, to make sure that their little brother or little sister is not left behind. Okay? If one of the kids have candy, you share the candy with the others. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, socialism. The mothers are there, and then someone else from the outside, the government, is providing for the family. And that man or that person is the man. Does that make sense? Like, it's not the government providing for the family. It's the man, which is capitalism, who provides for socialism. The moment you cut off capitalism, you're cutting off the funding for socialism. Socialism outside in the world doesn't work. It is a failed thought experiment that some elites use in order for them to keep control and to keep, all that stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, socialism doesn't work, and if we're going to get freedom for everyone, we cannot have governments that take half your stuff. That's not a good principle. Theft is always wrong. And what governments are doing to people, even though people are like, well, I like to pay my taxes. Okay, great, you pay your taxes, but I don't want to. Is that okay? No, you got to go to jail if you don't pay taxes. Okay? Peter Schiff's dad went to jail because he literally taught the people that, and he made books about it, that paying taxes was against the Constitution. And the government demanding taxes was against the Constitution. And he went to prison for it and died in prison. This is why Peter Schiff is so gung-ho about libertarianism, because he wants limited government. He doesn't want government to have a lot of power because he's following in his father's footsteps. Do you get my drift? Capitalism is the way to get everyone out of poverty because they can choose to get out of poverty because nature is causing them to suffer. No one else is causing them to suffer. There's a lot of suffering when the government has a lot of control. If you don't believe that, then study history.
Look how big of a conflict that is.
Yeah.
So my dad's trying to become rich, but that's who my mom hates. How can your husband become exactly what you hate? The more my dad's aspiring to become rich, the more you despise rich people. Why would he become rich? You don't like rich people. I don't know if that made sense or not.
Yeah, it makes
so it's
perfect
kind of
sense.
like, dude, I'm trying to...
Makes perfect sense. And that has nothing to do with the woman. That has to do with leadership, though. If he was a high-value man and he knew how to lead women, she would not be a communist anymore. Okay? You gotta understand this. Women follow, men lead. Women become obsessed with the man, they melt. What does melting mean? They melt into if things are working in his life, they melt. It's like, oh, it's working. Oh, I like this. That's how women function, which is great because that means that we can actually have loyalty. Because actually, her leaving you is based upon you. If you suck, she'll leave. If you're fantastic, she'll stay. Like, do you see how this works? And if you teach her correct principles, and she loves you, and she obsesses with you, and she wants to stay with you, her belief system will actually change. But if she's the one who's masculine, she's the one who controls the relationship, and you're feminine, and you get angry, she's not going to follow you because that's not leadership. If you're right and you get angry, you're wrong. I'll repeat it. If you're right and you get angry, you're wrong. Because you can't control your emotions. If you can't control your emotions, then no one's going to listen to you.
Really give you the life, but she despises rich people. So values and principles. To me, politics is almost more important than religion. People say, why would you say that? That's so weird. Okay, so if a Christian marries a Catholic, yeah, they're both Christians, a little bit different. If a Christian marries a Jew, okay, one's a Christian, one's a Jew. But it's very different, Patrick. I get it. But Ten Commandments, okay? Same values and principles in that area, but economically, if you believe certain economy is going to be one way, and she believes it in a different way. If you believe politically one side and she believes, you're causing too many fights.
So I agree with this though. Like if you're gonna, let's say eventually you want to start a family with 3 in love and all that stuff. How are you gonna do that? Like how is the selection principle or how is the selection process of values and principles that the girl has? Well, you basically are very upfront from the very beginning about what your beliefs and standards are in your life. You hear what hers are, okay? And then you find out if that actually meshes. Okay, like prevention is really where it's at. Okay, prevention, what is it? Prior preparation prevents poor performance, but that's not really about prevention. Prevention is an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? Okay, if you're in the marriage and you've got different values, principles, political beliefs, and religious beliefs, blah, 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 it's going to be a hard fight. So I agree with Pat by basically preventing all those problems by having the same value system, by having the same religion. And, if we're part of this channel, you'll pretty much have the same kind of value system and belief system, trust me. But in terms of my wife, though, I can tell you something. Yes, we came from the same kind of, faith background. And the values, to be honest with you, were completely aligned. And we've never argued on a value principle standpoint, ever, in our entire relationship. Like the first fight we had in like 3 years, it was just like 6 years ago, whenever it was about a burnt pizza. Like literally, I'm like looking at the pizza and I'm like, it's not burnt. And she's like, it's burnt. We're not eating this pizza. And I'm like, it's not burnt. Because I would have to like go back to the shop and like get in my car to get to you. It's winter outside. I don't want to go to the shop and I don't want to buy another pizza, right? It's not a burnt pizza. We can eat it. It's a burnt pizza. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that's the kind of stuff that we were fighting about. It was like the small, minuscule, has nothing to do with anything. And that's what we'd fight about. But values and principles, never. So you can find some women that have the same values and principles as you. It's not that hard. It's not that difficult, and you'll find them, including women who want 3 in love. Seriously.
And you're causing way too many things for kids to also have more fights with. So philosophically, you got to be on the same page. The magic, the excitement's got to be there when you're around each other. It's not going to be like that forever because, when you have kids, you can't have sex for 3 months. And
did you hear what? Did you just hear what he said? This is what I teach on the channel all the time. The desire's kind of gonna, you get kids and suddenly you don't have sex. This is because of female nature, not desiring sex, okay? If she wanted to have sex, she'd have sex. It's not that she wants it, but she just doesn't want it with you, okay? Why? Because that's how monogamy is set up. Like she hungers for it. Like she's like she wants sexual desire. Women were designed for lust. Women were designed for spikes, for sexual gratification, okay? Monogamy screws them over. Who would have thought? It's actually, monogamy is actually the problem that causes women's problems in monogamy. Like men don't really have that much issues in monogamy. Like we could actually survive. Like, okay, so I guess this is how life is. I guess I have to live with it. I guess we'll have to progress and we'll figure things out. Okay, honey, and I'll do my best and blah, blah. The woman is like, you know what I mean? Because she's not getting what she needs. And she needs sexual gratification, and monogamy takes that away. So is polyamory better? No, not at all. What a woman needs is to see her man massively pleasing another woman. And knowing that she is not left out or behind. This is why you also need the third one, okay? This is how women function. It's how their brains are wired. But they will never admit to that if they're masculine because because of certain things or blockages that the universe has put in place so that is not easily rewarded to men who suck. Okay? A man who's amazing, he'll automatically have women who wants that with him and with the other two. If he's amazing. But if he sucks, there's a blockage there and the woman will say, hell no. Never in life am I sharing you with anyone else. I'm just telling you guys. This is how it works.
It's going to be a lot of things that's going to hurt the magic at times, but there's got to be that twinkle where you're like, man, I can't wait to see. I can't wait to go have that dinner with her, right? And then, ask a lot of questions up front. Man, I asked, so let me ask you this. Yeah, what are we going to do one day if this time? What would you do? One time I asked my wife, I said, let me ask you, if we get into a big fight, okay, terrible fight, I'm talking horrible fight. We were together for 9 months when I asked this question. I said, who would you call? She said, I would call this person, that
Ghostbusters.
person, this person, this person, this person. I said, okay. So I got a paper and pen out. Tell me about this person. Are they married? No, she's divorced. Okay. Tell me about this person. Tell me about that person. I said, yeah, I'm not ready to get married. She says, why not? I said, because everybody you call is going to defend you. And they need to defend me. But everyone's going to defend you. She says, what do you mean? Who are you going to call if we get into a fight? I said, let me tell you who. I said, Dudley, my dad, and I went through a list of the names that I would call. I said, you know what every one of these guys would defend? Who? You. They would all say I messed up to come and apologize to you. I said, you see, the challenge is,
Except for the fact that it's always the man's fault. So, do you see how Patrick just blamed her right there? He's like, if we get in a fight, like a really messed up fight, first of all, that should never ever happen, and that depends on the man, not the woman. Why should you get in a fight in the first place? If you get angry, if you're right and you get angry, you're wrong, right? So why should you ever get in a fight? That's number one. Number two is you want the person that she's calling to defend you? Why do you need a defender? Like, aren't you man? Like, bro, what the hell? Do you get what I'm saying? As a man, you don't need anyone to defend you to your wife. You take the blame. You take the responsibility. You change. You communicate and figure it out. You don't need her to call someone. You need, like, if she actually calls someone, okay, about the fight that you guys are having, preferably she'd have two other women that she can kind of, spar with and like, what is actually going on with him, and maybe we can talk it out and figure out a way, blah, 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 if there ever is a problem like that. But a man of high value would never ever yell, never ever fight. He would listen. He would listen, and they'd find a solution, right? So that would really not happen in 3 in Love, or at least shouldn't. And if it does, like, what's your problem? Like, he's not being coached then. He hasn't gone through the preliminary stages. Doesn't, you know what I mean? But the aspect of him being defended, that just doesn't make any sense. But from a woman's standpoint, a woman needs someone to vent to if she's not venting to him. But she should be venting to him. Does that make sense? Like, this is a ridiculous question, Patrick. Like, again, it just shows the ignorance. Because a man should always allow his woman, to vent on him, okay? Let her lash out. Let her scream at you. Let her yell. Let her slap. Let her do everything that she wants to you because she's pissed at you because you deserve it. That's one. Because you suck. Because you're ignorant. Why did you make her feel this way? There's something wrong there, okay? This is very tricky if you're in a relationship with the burdened woman and you're not committed to her for life and you don't understand women. Because that could be dangerous. She could put up weapons and knives and drive over you with your car. I don't know. Okay? So, like, you gotta be wise about this. But at one point in the future, you should come to the point where your woman can vent to you so much that every time she does have a problem, she vents it out instead of it escalating and becoming a pressure cooker over time because she's taking the blame. If she blames you continuously and vents about all of the problems that you cause her, and you're always willing to change, always willing to take the blame, always willing to make things happen, then she's like, okay, there's progress. Okay, I'm glad. Okay, I'm good. Give me a hug. Okay, great, blah, blah, blah. Finished. She just needed to vent. And the more she's venting, the less the pressure cooker is building. Fantastic. We like that. That's good. And this is how you keep her happy. This is also how you keep her from never ever leaving you. Because who else is going to take the blame for everything that she does? Right? Or anything else that happens in her life? No one. This is why you're high value and why you deserve 3 women. Eventually, at some point in time, when you get the stamp of approval from the community, etc., etc.
I have way too many divorced friends. Divorced friends like to recruit people to the divorce community.
Wow.
Married people like to recruit people to the married community. Single people like to recruit people to what? Single community. We're all recruiters, by the way.
Yeah.
So when you get married, it's very important that most of the people you're around is also what? Like you.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to be tempted. So I made the list, she made the list. So you guys got to have the conversation where you guys can say, hey, something happens, who are you going to call? And then I'm telling you, 90% of the questions you're asking me is in 101 questions to ask before you get engaged. Baggage, what do you bring to the table? You know, what things do I have to worry about? Exes, are you comfortable with a kid? I guess the last one I would add with you would be the following. Create a list of your 3 non-negotiables, which means, look, no matter what, we have to be both same faith, hypothetically. No matter what, you can't have any kids. No matter what, you can't be married before.
By the way, this is a flippin' waste of time. I just wanted to tell you guys that what they're doing and communicating about right now, he's got literally one of the most successful men on YouTube, one of the most successful men, I mean, not in America, because there's literally like, 100,000 guys more successful than him, but I'm just saying from a standpoint of influencer, he's one of the greatest influencers in America because there's tons of billionaires that are not influencing anyone, from on a grand scale like Patrick is. Why aren't they talking about success, okay? Now, obviously, success in family is the greatest success you can ever have. So that's what you want to get from Patrick because he's so successful and he's got a family, so he must know, right? He's got no idea what he's talking about, so he should not be talking about that. That's why this is a waste of time of them talking about women, to be honest. Like, let's give us more of the, masculine purpose and becoming a high-value man and all that stuff. And then, we can talk about the other stuff later. And also, we want men to get going with work and have motivation. Okay, like when he's talking about, marriage is risky and women are risky and it is very difficult and there's no sex in marriage and all this stuff, how does that motivate men to get on their drive and make things happen? Okay, they come to my channel, they hear 3 in Love, they're like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I can have that. Yes, you can. Will they leave you? No, if you actually know what you're doing. Is that motivating? Yes, I'm fired up outside my brain, right? And then they begin the 80-hour work week in SR. Because there's a reason to move now. There's a reason to make things happen. There's a vision. I want that for my future. So I need to change. I need to improve. I need to become. That's what we want. That's what we need. So I'm just explaining why I think that what they're talking about is a waste of time. But I still like to listen.
Or no matter what, you can't have this. No matter, create your 3 no matter what, and don't create a 20 no matter what. Only 3 no matter what. So you got to think about all the no matter what's and then narrow it down to what? 3. Once you have your 3, never compromise the 3. Many people do, just because the sex is good, or just because she's too pretty, or just because he's way handsome, or just because, you cannot compromise your non-negotiables. When I'm running a company, a guy came up and he says, hey, Pat,
Just because the sex is good, don't have sex with anyone outside of lifelong commitment, ever.
Do a deal on the side, I'm going to pay you $1 million a year. This is when I was smaller. He said, I'm going to pay you $1 million a year, no one's going to know. Let's do a side contract. I said, what's crazy? He says, what's this? I said, you have no idea how much I need that $1 million. He says, I said, you have no idea how much I need that $1 million right now. I'm telling you, I need that $1 million right now because I'm bleeding. I said, but do you know if one of my guys finds out who's loyal to me, that I did a side deal with them with you, even though I've never known you before, we just started like 6 months ago. I said, I lose trust with all this. I can't do that. It's part of my non-negotiable. I said, I can't do it. I said, I appreciate the offer, but I cannot take you on that. He was blown away because everybody else said it. Because one of my non-negotiable was win your existing loyal people over and never disrespect them. Always protect them. Once you do that and you're going into a marriage, you're hopefully the odds will be on your side. But still, it's very important to know there is no perfection when it comes down to that. If you wait for that part, you'll never. If you actually do want to get married, there is no perfection. There is risk. There is concern. Your heart could be broken. Things.
No, it can't. Oh, it's so funny.
Could go wrong. But you're just hoping the odds are on your side.
Patrick, hope is not a good strategy, man. Like, out of all people, you know that. Imagine if that was your strategy going into your insurance company. Like, literally, hope. Go into your meeting with hope. I'm hoping that it's gonna work out. It doesn't work, man. It's funny. Anyway, I just had to laugh with that.
No, that's great. And something else that you said stood out to me when we first met. So recently you announced that your wife is pregnant with twins. Congratulations. Bet today the family keeps on growing. I love the legacy that you're leaving behind. And you made a point that you said that you take it 1 year at a time. Every year, 1 year at a time. So right now, your wife's on the way to have your 5th kid. And so is there ever a sense where it's like, that she's on this team for life, or are you still taking it 1 year at a time?
Of course it's 1 year at a time. Of course it's 1 year at a time. But I appreciate that, although...
No offense, guys. Like, literally, I really admire Patrick. I'm not beating him up. I'm not, I'm not bashing on him or anything. Like, wow. If I got to talk to Patrick, just even on the phone, I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to Patrick? Bro, Pat, how you doing? You know what I mean? Like, that would be my attitude. Do you understand what I mean? But I'm just explaining to you guys, it's hilarious what they're talking about in terms of, looking at relationships as a risky endeavor. It's not risky. You just gotta know the basics, Just like trading, just like business, just like anything else in life. There's a science to it. If you understand the science, the probabilities massively go in your favor.
8 weeks ago, we went to the doctor, and when we did the ultrasound, one of the babies died. So one of the twins didn't make it. I appreciate that, but we are having a baby, and we're excited about it, and God knows how much we prayed about the entire event that took place. It's been a very interesting pregnancy compared to the others. But of course, there's still, who knows what's going to happen. We're still taking it 1 year at a time. I mean, you got to know that we've moved now 10 times in 11 years of being married.
Wow.
And to 3 different states. So it's not like we moved from here to across the street. We moved 6 times in California, then...
Women hate to move, just so you know. So definitely took a toll on their marriage for sure. It's not like women love to like, oh, let's just move. And yeah, you know, because what ends up happening is that very often it's the woman that does all the moving because the man is busy, you know, at work and needs to do this, that, and the other. So it's the woman that needs to take down the paintings, take this, you know, get the kids all their stuff and blah, blah, blah. And very often, at least if they don't have movers, you know, but they probably have movers. But at the same time, the movers can't do everything because there are some things that are valuables that they can't take care of. Do you understand what I mean? It's horrible for a woman to move and uproot herself. This is also one of the reasons why you should have money when you get started and also have a, you know, be situated somewhat, especially if you're gonna have kids. Like, and I don't advise that in 3 in Love very early. I advise that later on in the show. But you know, in the beginning, it's not a big deal if you guys are moving around. It's just, you know, you and your 3 women. But, you know, eventually, you know, like establish yourselves so that the kids can kind of grow up in the same household or same home, all that stuff. That would be beautiful. So, you know, or travel 6 months here and 6 months there, which you can do when you're rich. So, for example.
3 times in you know, Texas, then 1 time in Florida, and it's constantly. So there's a lot of pressure, and I'm not going to slow down. So it's not like I'm going to be this person that's going to be home. I'm still going to play offense, and you know, she's going to have her own changes as a human being that takes place. I can't predict the future, but where we are right now, we're in a very good place right now. But every year we take it 1 year at a time because you're not somebody that can Nostradamus where you can predict the future. You just do your best to have the odds be on your side, and then hopefully eventually one day you wake up, you're like, we're celebrating 50 years, yeah. Pretty crazy. Never thought this would happen. Never thought this would happen. So
no, that's amazing. So the last thing, as we wrap it up, is I feel like 2020. I don't want to use the word evolution because I feel the word evolution is kind of setting to a set, but it was the becoming, in my opinion, of the next phase of Patrick Bet-David. I saw a shift in regards to the content. I saw a shift in regards to the comfortability. Even though I always say you're one of the best interviewers of all time and one of the best teachers of all time, I saw you in your element with the podcast. I saw you in your element with more of the videos. And to me, it was a beautiful metamorphosis to experience.
I, by the way, watched Valuetainment for 2 years. Yeah. 3, maybe. No, 2.
And so I'm curious to what went on in 2020, which I felt like there was like all this weight that you were carrying. You let it go and you just fully show the world, no, this is who I am. I don't care what you think, and I'm gonna let you know what I think about life.
Yeah, there's risk to that today, by the way. But for me, I don't know any other way of living because. So you've noticed I've used the word odds a lot lately. That's odds, marriage odds. All these things are odds, right? Okay. So when I got to a point in 2013, 2014, for about a year and a half, I kept questioning my ability to be a CEO. So the most common question I ask at 2013, 2014 is, am I a great sales leader? Or am I a great CEO? I don't know. I know I'm a great salesperson. I know I'm a great sales leader. I don't yet know if I'm a great CEO. Okay? And there was a lot of criticism saying from my own folks, 2 guys specifically, you know what you're doing? This is. I'm like, okay, great. So I questioned myself. In mid-2014, I sat there and I said, if I've ever done anything in my life, you guys are going to be shell-shocked by how much I'm going to double down on exactly what bothers you the most, which were some of these guys that they don't like the way I live. I doubled down on it. And they said, wait a minute, you're still doing it. So this is who I am. This is what I'm going to be doing. Next thing you know, the company went from doing 5 million a year, 10 million a year, 20 million a year, 40 million a year, 70 million a year, growing year after year after year after year. And you saw like them go from, you know, 50,000, $250,000, $500,000, $2 million. Now it's about to cross 3 million. But I realized my philosophies are getting clearer in life. And I'm not going to sit there and debate you on energy because I don't have a clear philosophy on energy. I'm not going to sit here and debate you on, you know, certain topics that I have no strong opinions on. But the areas that I have strong opinions on, yeah, I'm very comfortable with that.
Yes, sir. That's the kind of person I like. Someone who like the thing that he knows for sure. Okay? Just like I talk about women, like the thing that I know for sure. Okay? That's the kind of people you want to debate with and talk to, you know, about in order for you to learn about something. And he has strong opinions on certain things, and I love those strong opinions on certain things, like libertarianism, etc.
And my philosophy is getting more clearer for me. When your philosophy gets clear in your life on how you lead, how you raise kids, how you deal with finances, how you deal with crisis, how you deal with all that other stuff, your confidence goes higher. Now, I'll give you another part.
And life becomes so much better, man. Like when your confidence grows, that is life quality. I just like, let me just admit that to you guys right now. The moment you develop as a man, you become more masculine, you'll become more confident, and if you're more confident, you are happier. Joy, bliss, and happiness comes from confidence. Power, the ability to do. That's how we function as men. This is why you want to encourage yourself to get as much power as possible, because the ability to do is confidence. That's what's going to give you happiness. If you're depressed, it's because you have no power. You feel like you're a victim. You know, you're out, you know, everyone is controlling you, and because everyone's controlling you, you have no control. Right? That's the problem. So we want to elevate your performance to the point of doing the 80-hour work week, because then you're going to begin to get compliments. You're going to begin to be like, whoa, I could never do that, because that's what happens. People are like, you work too much, you work too hard, blah, 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 blah. And you'll be like, yes, I like that. I like other people telling me that I'm doing something that they're not doing, because then I can live later like they can't. Right? That's what you want, man. You want confidence.
That's what happened. Competition, when you first start, you know, at the beginning, like let's just say you and I get into a Coldwell Banker office or a Keller Williams office or a Morgan Stanley office, and we're both 23 with a new, you know, young stars that are coming in. Mm-hmm. You came out of a big school, I came out of a big school. You're competitive, I'm competitive. You come at 5 o'clock, I'm trying to come in at 4:59. Mm-hmm. Next day you come in at 4:49 and you have sweat because you just finished the gym. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna kick his ass, I'm coming at 4:30. Mm-hmm. So we're coming up, right? And we work.
Masculinity, man, you gotta love it.
You're one, you beat me. Okay? Mm-hmm. You're two, you beat me. Because that's based on what? Work. Mm-hmm. You're simply outworking me. Mm-hmm. You're three, you beat me. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, you're at a $300,000 year income. I'm at 220. Mm-hmm. Then at $300,000 year income, you start liking golf too much. Mm-hmm. Then at a $300,000 year income, you're going to the clubs and you're doing bottle service and you're getting that. So your 300 becomes 350. Mm-hmm. My 200 becomes 400. Mm-hmm. My 400 becomes 800. Mm-hmm. My 800 becomes 1.6. Now your 350 is at 500. Then all of a sudden I'm making 3 million. You're at 620. We're not in the same league anymore. We don't belong to the same clubs. If I'm at 3 million, you're at 620, it's not the same community. It's not the same conversations about investments. It's a very different conversation.
This is why you lose all your friends. As you become a multi-millionaire, the friends that you used to have, they're out of your life because they're uncomfortable being in your presence. They don't feel home anymore. And they're going to remain the same, and you're going to be a completely different person. This is why I say screw your friends. All of your friends. All of them. If they're not better than you or going in the same direction as you, like hardcore, get rid of them. Okay? You've got a community here with the Men of High Value channel now.
The people that I play poker with on Friday nights in my community are different than the people you play poker on Friday night in your community. But at one point, you whooped my ass. So what happened here? So the most important area that gave me a lot of confidence, I'm going to tell you, is this. So first thing is outwork. We come into the Morgan Stanley office, Keller Williams office, you outwork me the first year, second year, third. So in the first 3 years, it looks like you're going to kill me long term. Mm-hmm. Second one is out-improve. We improved steadily the first 2 years. After the third year, you stop reading books the way you used to. So now I've got an edge over you on reading. Even though you're smarter than me and better than me, talented-wise. But I'm now out-improving you a little bit more. Next one is strategizing. Out-strategize, that doesn't happen overnight. Strategy typically takes 5 to 10 years. So you have to be competing for 5 to 10 years to come up with newer strategies, because people don't even know what to struggle. What do I do with strategy in real estate or investment bank or YouTube or social media? You don't know those strategies yet, right? Then the last one is what gave me confidence in 2000. And you know what the last one is? Outlasting. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you. One time, a girl got up on stage. It's got the chills all over me. Look at this. I see it. One time I got up on stage, and this girl called me out. We were competing. And later on that night, we were having dinner. I said, let me tell you something. I said, there's one secret you don't know about competition and me, and that you will never beat me long term. And she says, well, you got to realize I'm extremely competitive already at 42, but I was out of control in my 20s. Yeah. Like, out of control. Yeah. If you said you could beat me in my 20s, you don't even know what it did to me on how competitive I was after what happened to my dad. Because in my mind, it's not about beating you. In my mind, there's no way in the world you're going to prevent me from giving my dad everything he wants in life. You were in the way. If that makes any sense. So to you were really calling my dad out. That's when I'm just going to go double down, right? Girl said, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. I said, so let me put it to you this way. I said, you know what's the difference between me and you? What's that? I will never stop. You're eventually going to stop. Odds are against you. I will never stop. And the moment you realized I realized in 2020, this game is about the last one. That's the real battle. Yeah. That's when you realize your competition is not even 1%. It's a very small community because most people are going to celebrate with certain cars, women, accolades, money, savings, articles written about you. I don't really, Because the bigger play is permanent. The bigger legacy doesn't last a year. Oh, did you see that viral article? No. Reagan's forever going to be remembered. You know, there are Rockefellers are forever going to be remembered.
I completely agree with him. I want you guys to make sure you get the last few. Well, let's just keep going.
The legacy family is forever going to be remembered. Not 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now. As long as the Armageddon doesn't come around 1,000 years from now, we're going to know the Kennedy legacy, right? So that's the part where you find that at the end of the day, the biggest thinkers win. The biggest thinkers win because the biggest thinkers can last longer than you can. Most people can. Not you. I'm saying generally, like anybody is. Like a Tesla, people say, "Oh my gosh, you see that guy's killing it on podcasts, or that guy's killing it on, so that guy's killing real estate, that guy's killing." Relax.
Yeah.
Way too early.
Yeah.
This is a 20-year race. We don't even know what's going on. Some of the people that were big 10 years ago, ain't nobody talking about them today. This is a long race. So the confidence in 2020 came knowing I can last. And by the way, you said levels, Patrick.
There you go, guys. There you go. I'm giving you guys work ethic. I'm giving you guys SR. I'm giving you guys big thinking. I'm giving you guys, the potential of 3 women. Like you're just like your brain expands and you're just like, whoa, the possibilities is insane. Exactly. Are you gonna outlast everyone because of that? For sure you are. Because there's nothing that taps into our male motivation more than what I've just spoken about. Okay.
It's pretty much all the way at the top of the level. I'm not. Yeah. I am at 2-3 levels below some of the guys. Say put Musk at the top with with
Bezos.
Those 2 guys are at the top, and you're probably gonna have to put Ellison there. You're gonna have to put Zuck there. You're gonna have to put Buffett there, Gates there. There's a community there, right? Then there's the next level. Then probably tier 4 or 5. I got work to do to get up there. 42 years old. Am I at the top of 42-year-old? Yes. 42 years old above everybody. No, I'm competing.
Isn't that insane though? Like until he was like 28. He's been all over the place. Really, what he succeeded at is the last 15 years. And yes, 2 days ago, I told you guys, like, imagine if you start succeeding at 12. Like, you're going to get twice as successful as Patrick.
The best part is knowing, no matter how well you're doing, never believe in the hype that you've already made it. If you feel you've made it, you lost the game already. You're never going to compete with the guys at the top. Because everyone's going to tell you, dude, you're amazing, dude, you're killing it, dude, you're this. You almost have to be deaf when you hear that from people. You can't hear that because that's the last thing you want to hear. Now, you came in here, I told you, listen, you guys are doing a great job with your podcast, all this other stuff. This is coming from a guy that we have a relationship with, and so this guy's seeing what we're doing. Yeah, of course, I respect you. Salute. Okay, good. That compliment's coming from what? Somebody that's been in the game and kind of knows what's going on, and you're going to get 2 million subs no matter what. You already know you're going to get 2 million subs. It's not like we're going to celebrate. You know you're going to get 2 million subs.
Yeah.
But everybody else that tells you how amazing you are, mute.
Man, Patrick, it is an honor. It is a privilege to have you back on the show. I think the closing message that you shared was so powerful because I tell men this all the time. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. And that's a message that we emphasize the message, we focus on it. Thank you so much for sharing that wisdom. Guys, make sure you get Patrick's book, Your Next 5 Moves, if you have.
Amazing. I'm going to stop it right there.